Awesome. Hey, everybody. I'm John, co-founder and product lead here at Acral, and I'm really excited to walk you guys through what's in store for the 1.0 release of Data Hub alongside my co-founder, Shashanka. There's a lot to get into, but let's get right into it. The first thing we are going to talk about is a completely redesigned Data Hub user experience. We kicked this off over a year ago, and we really had two things in mind. One, making Data Hub more approachable to everyone inside the organization, not just the folks working with data on a day-to-day basis. And then two, reducing the friction and increasing the usability of all Data Hub surface areas. So I'll start with the homepage, where we focused on getting users back into the place that they left off by showing them recently viewed assets, things that they own, maybe metadata they own and care about, and finally giving them a way to explore all of the most trustworthy data within the organization. We also redid the navigation experience from the ground up to give admins and end users a way to understand what Data Hub can do for them quickly. Next, we worked on the search experience, and I'm going to highlight two specific things we worked on. The first is a redesigned browse sidebar, which allows data analysts and data scientists to browse data as they would find it in platforms like Snowflake, BigQuery, Looker, Redshift, and more. What's really powerful about this is you can combine this filtering with the rich business context in Data Hub, filters like domain, glossary term, tag, and data ownership. We also focused on bringing more context into the search experience so that you can find trustworthy assets without having to leave the search results page. So what you'll see here is a profile sidebar preview that allows you to understand more context about the data before you dive deeper. Next on deck is Lineage, one of the most popular features of Data Hub. With the Lineage redesigned, we focused on usability and rich context. We added controls like multi-level expansion in a single click, pagination so that we don't just expand everything in your downstream lineage, and then search by name so you can find the right assets on the lineage graph quickly. We also added a column level lineage view so you can understand where a single column comes from and where it's going in the same sort of graphical interface. Next, we focused on data quality, specifically bringing data quality to every surface area within Data Hub. The homepage, the search results, the lineage view, the profile. We even allow you to quickly understand whether an input or an upstream data asset has data quality problems using the lineage sidebar that's shown right here. So this is just a quick preview of some of the highlights of the 1.0 UI. I'm really excited to get this in the hands of users and start getting feedback. And I'm happy to announce that this is already available via Data Hub Docker Quick Start today. All you have to do to turn on the user experience is navigate to Settings, Appearance, and then try New User Experience. I'm really, really excited, and I want to pause and just give a huge shout out to the entire Acral team that made this happen and all of our early customer design partners that worked with us on the new UI. If you want to learn more about the UI, you can check out the blog post that I posted on Medium, and you can also try out the demo today at demo.datahubproject.io. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Shashanka to walk us through some of the other exciting parts of the 1.0 release.
Well, it's hard to top that one. I mean, the UI is what people love and they enjoy. But you know what? That was not just it. I'm excited to share two major new developments that are also landing in Data Hub 1.0. And that's really going to transform how we work with AI and data. First, as you saw, we've completely reimagined search in Data Hub, and you can now seamlessly search across all your AI and data assets in one place. So with the same search interface, you can look for models, data sets, or model groups. Everything is right at your fingertips. And on the next slide, you'll find that one of our most requested features is here: comprehensive versioning for both data and AI assets. So you can now register and link multiple versions of the same data set and ML model with easy to track changes across all these versions. And if you're an ML practitioner, you can add detailed tracking for model versions as well. So it helps you understand when you're discovering a model or a model group, understand which model versions are interesting and why. You can see creation dates, metadata, version tags, and even track deprecated versions. And of course, Lineage is getting even more powerful. We're adding support for models into the lineage graph as well, so you can see end-to-end lineage tracking across your data and AI assets. And you can finally trace the journey all the way from your input data, all the way upstream, or even further upstream from your warehouse, through to your trained models with version awareness at each step, timestamps, all that jazz. And of course, if you're an ML practitioner and you want to deep dive, we are adding detailed model statistics as well. You can dig deep into metrics, understand performance changes, track improvements across versions, and you can see where to focus on as you try to understand the performance of a model better. And these changes are going to be dropped into the 1.0 release over time. And of course, everything is API first, like everything with Data Hub. So you can seamlessly integrate with your AI toolchain. And we made it super easy to log and track every AI asset. We also have, of course, integrations with all of your popular AI systems like SageMaker and MLflow, and there's more to come. And that's the AI track. And then we started thinking, well, is that good enough for 1.0? I mean, it's nice, but what could make Data Hub even cooler? And we found it. So we're thrilled to announce support for the Iceberg REST catalog as part of 1.0 release as well. This is launching in beta as part of 1.0. And you might be asking why. Why did you guys do it? Not just because it's cool. We actually looked at the latest OneHouse report. You probably saw it. They compared all of the leading data catalog solutions out there and said, you know what? Data Hub looks amazing. And then a lot of smart people started talking and they started saying things like, you know what would be even cooler? If Data Hub also added support for Iceberg. So we're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's actually add these capabilities. But we didn't just do it to be cool. We did it because it's also useful. A lot of our customers said this would be useful. It really brings three major benefits. First of all, you get real-time insights across your entire data stack. Unified access management that's driven by business metadata. So you can have a single place to declare and manage all your policies for Iceberg tables driven by the business glossary or tags or domains. And that's pretty cool. And then finally, as this one person who engaged with our feature request on GitHub beautifully said, one less catalog to run and maintain. So we did it for simplicity. The goal really is if you've got Data Hub and you want one less thing to run and manage, you can now add on Iceberg catalog capabilities to it, and it makes your life simpler. So what's the architecture like and how's the setup? First of all, it's very simple configuration. You get a Data Hub Iceberg CLI command, use it to create a warehouse, set up credentials, and then provision access through the Data Hub interface. So give access to your users, roles, whatever you want to do with Data Hub. There's some additional privileges that will be available that support data read and write, etc. Once you've done that, you can enjoy the architecture. The architecture is very simple. We've built it as a monolith that handles everything from discovery to governance with integration with all your tools and adds on the Iceberg capabilities. But like everything nice about Data Hub, there's always a change stream, which means you can also compose it. You can have a Data Hub instance that's dedicated to Iceberg, and you can have a Data Hub instance that's downstream of it, that's for your business users. And maybe you can even enable read access to your Iceberg dataset from that. The world is your oyster. You can kind of combine these things in whichever way that suits your deployment architecture. And here's what it looks like in action. Pretty boring. You stand it up, you start running your compute, and Iceberg tables just show up right when they get created. So it's pretty simple. You can get your Iceberg table in the catalog right then. You can see when it was last updated. We even get table stats out of the box. So that's pretty cool. And so it gives you discovery, observability, and governance for your Iceberg tables right there. So you might be wondering, is this all smoke and mirrors? Is it actually happening? Yes, it is. In fact, we merged the PR last night. And so it's part of the preview release available today, and it's part of the release candidate that's getting cut. And the features are very simple. We've got full support for v1.6 Iceberg spec, read and write capabilities, CRUD operations on namespaces. We did some performance testing. We'll do more. So far, we're seeing that we're matching the Hadoop catalog that ships as part of the Iceberg repo pretty well. There's some current limitations, of course. We are not deleting data on table drops yet. We're still working on GCP and Azure support. And looking ahead, in terms of the roadmap, we're focusing on, of course, hardening the system, implementing a few things that we've missed in this first round, namespace permissioning, and of course, evolving alongside the Iceberg spec. And more than anything, we're excited to build this with you, and we can't wait to see what you'll build with it.
Awesome. Thanks, Shashanka. With that, let's talk a little bit about availability for the 1.0 release and all the great things we just covered. DataHub 1.0 is already available as a preview beta version via DataHub Docker Quick Start so that you can start trying it out and giving us feedback. We'll be aiming to make it publicly available as a prod release on Feb 28th. So please do check it out, give us feedback before that date, and hopefully we can squash all the bugs that people find. We've created a special GitHub issue template that allows you to report issues specifically on the 1.0 release. So we really encourage people to use that to report any issues between now and then. And finally, we're going to be extending the office hours for all of February to 60 minutes so that we can help folks migrate from the existing DataHub versions up to the 1.0 release. So please do swing by and we'll be happy to walk you through the process. With that, I want to change gears and start to give you a preview of where we're going in 2025, because as Shashanka said earlier, we're just getting started. And before we do, I just want to step back and give you a sense for what makes DataHub unique. At DataHub, we start by building what we call the metadata graph, which is a high-fidelity picture of the people, the data, the queries and code, and the relationships between them. We believe that if we build this graph in a high-fidelity way, we can layer on those use cases on top: data discovery, data governance, and data observability. So as we walk through the roadmap, we're just going to go through each section of this diagram and talk about projects for each area. With that, I'm going to kick it over to Maggie to walk us through the discovery section of the roadmap.
Amazing. Thank you, John. I got to say, that's a tough act to follow, but we have some pretty exciting stuff teed up for 2025. So we're going to start with discovery. So there's three different kind of areas of focus for data discovery that we'll be tackling in 2025. First is human-centered insights. So making sure that we're capturing human kind of generated context around data. Next is intelligent exploration. So during that discovery process, we want to make sure that we're surfacing up the most robust context to really drive and kind of streamline that navigation and discovery. And then, of course, we've already seen kind of screenshots of our end-to-end lineage. We're continuing to invest in the usability and kind of applicability of lineage. So what does that look like? We will continue to invest our integration focus on dashboarding and analytics tools. Of course, we're always going to be investing in additional data stores and data lakes. And then as Shashanka was talking about, we will be turning a lot of our focus towards kind of AI and ML tooling as well. One thing that we've heard plenty from the community, or there's plenty of demand from the community, is the support for a metrics catalog. So what this means is that you'll be able to come in and register, associate, and document key metrics right next to your data assets within DataHub. On the lineage side of things, we are going to be introducing hierarchical lineage, so allowing folks to really zoom out from the micro and look at it at a more macro level, or so it could be platform to platform, or maybe you actually want to start looking at lineage between domains, data products, etc. So really just making sure that those complex lineage graphs get easier and easier to digest and navigate. One area that these are a few areas where we are looking for additional feedback from the community before we commit to building these things out. So we encourage you to head over to our feature request portal and give us feedback on a few different areas for discovery. So data exploration within DataHub, discussions and announcements within DataHub so that you kind of drive the collaborative use cases, and then additional data sources for ingestion. On the governance side of things, we have three areas of focus here. So first is universal data registry. So visibility into every data set, model, data transformation, and dashboard. We want to continue to make sure that we're giving all of that deep visibility into those assets. Centralized compliance, so making sure that DataHub is well situated to be that central source of truth of compliance around, so that could be tracking ownership, documented purpose for GDPR, PII or sensitivity classification, etc. And lastly, policy enforcement. So you've done the hard work to do all that classification. Let's actually enforce those policies in the source. So what this looks like in Data Hub is support for logical data sets or kind of parent-child assets. So more often than not, you may have a logical data model that's deployed in various systems. The idea here is that you'll define it once and then apply all that rich context around the documentation, tagging, annotation, kind of propagate that out to where it's actually physically stored. Of course, that's within Data Hub, but what about outside of Data Hub? We'll be expanding our Data Hub Actions framework to allow support for propagating tags, glossary terms, etc., from Data Hub back to those source systems. So this is going to streamline processes around having tag-based policy. So you define it centrally within Data Hub. The Actions framework will take care of actually publishing that back and enforcing that within the source system. A few different areas where we're looking for feedback and governance is around metadata completion analytics. So kind of use cases around tracking and understanding the completion of your metadata over time. And then glossary synonyms. So kind of linking together similar data set or similar glossary terms to really build out that knowledge graph there. For the next section, I'm going to hand it back over to John.
Awesome. And on the observability track, we'll be focused on 3 things. The first is making data quality more accessible to everyone inside the organization, not just the data engineers. Making it more collaborative, again, so that everyone can be involved in tracking, communicating, resolving data quality incidents in kind of the public town square. And then finally, making data quality more contextual. So adding the rich business context that we already capture in Data Hub, like domains and documentation and ownership, with the data quality. So the first thing we're going to work on concretely is a redesign of the assertions experience, allowing users to easily search, filter, group their data quality assertions. We're also going to provide rich historical context so that you can understand every single run of an assertion along with its runtime context. The next thing we'll focus on is incidents. So specifically adding more context around the existing incidents feature, adding things like incident priorities, incident stages, so you can track it as it moves from detection to resolution, incident assignees, so you know who's responsible for an incident, and the ability to view incident activity over time. Finally, we're going to work on asset and column statistics so that you can understand the key table stats, its usage patterns, its change history when it's inserted into or updated, at a glance. So some other projects we considered on this track are custom asset metrics, where you can report and view custom quality metrics for an asset. Integrations with existing observability tools like Soda, Anomalo, and more. And then PagerDuty integration, so you can kind of integrate Data Hub incidents into your other incident management workflows. And we'd be hoping to achieve that, again, using the Data Hub Actions framework. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the platform layer, so things that benefit each one of these verticals. And our key focuses there for the year will be first and foremost on the developer experience, APIs and SDKs to make it really easy to register and find metadata using Data Hub via API. The second is around quality of service, so making sure that the user experience is not compromised, even in the presence of super heavy ingestion jobs, for example. And then finally, audit logging and tracing, so that you understand what key operations are happening on Data Hub and key user activity events as well. I'm just going to talk about 2 particularly impactful projects for the year on this roadmap, starting with the second version of the Python SDK. So we've gotten a lot of feedback on our first version of the SDK, and one of the things we've really heard is that people want higher level APIs for registering, for enriching, and retrieving data assets. And that's really what we intend to do with the second version of the Python SDK. So reducing time to value for developers. And the second thing I'll mention is around service accounts. So we know that Data Hub is becoming critical for programmatic workflows and custom automations across many organizations. So we're going to give you the ability to easily create, manage service accounts through Data Hub's UI that are useful for these types of programmatic workflows. All right, I'm going to pass it back to Maggie, the final time, the final handoff for this
Final
section.
handoff.
I promise. Thanks.
Thanks, John. So we talked a lot about the product, right? We talked a lot about like what's happening within our current development and what's to come. But let's take a second to celebrate the humans who are part of this. So I joined the Data Hub community back in 2020. I think I was like the 68th person in the Slack. And now we're at over 12,500 people in Data Hub Slack. I can't frankly wrap my head around that. It's truly remarkable to just kind of see and witness firsthand the growth and the vibrancy of this community. If you're not in there already, I highly recommend joining us. There's over the past 5 years, we've sent over 300,000 messages to each other. There's always a conversation happening. People are jumping in to help each other out, brainstorming best practices, etc. On the more virtual side of things, Data Hub was open back in 2020. We were doing a lot of Zooms in 2020, if you remember. And since that time, we've had over 4,000 people join us for those sessions. So if that's you, well, that is you now. But thank you so much for joining us and participating there. It really just helps it really just is a very vibrant and collaborative community. On the code side of things, we've had nearly 600 people contribute to this project over the past 5 years. And so if you're thinking that this is all, Acroll data, it is not. It is folks that are coming from company or contributing from companies like Netflix, like Pinterest, like it is just incredible. And here are some of the wonderful folks who have contributed just in the past year. I quite frankly couldn't fit more, like I ran out of time to get more put together because there's so many wonderful and amazing humans continuing to help us push this forward. Last, but certainly not least, I want to give a special shout out to our Data Hub champions. These are folks that meet with us on a regular basis, provide us feedback about how things are working within the community, kind of health of the project, the contribution experience. They're helping us amplify the community and the project. We are really so deeply grateful for you all. So big round of applause for our champions. So one last thing, you may have noticed a little cutie patootie otter hanging in our backgrounds. So we decided to celebrate our 5th year. Data Hub needed a buddy. Data Hub needed a friend. So we're excited to introduce you to Otto the otter. And you might be wondering, why an otter? Well, first of all, they're very cute, but otters are deeply collaborative and community-focused animals. They're very resilient while navigating streams. Get it? Streams of data. And they're whip smart and, like I said, deeply collaborative. So welcome, Otter, our celebratory mascot. And I don't know, y'all, congrats on 1.0. Excited about 1.0, excited about 2025. And like I said, so deeply grateful for this tremendous community that has come together over the past 5 years.